Good morning, Past Bing. Yesterday, Matt drove me into Greenwich so that I could go to Ravensbourne for one last time and empty my locker.
I hope it's not paid with cash, because no one fucking has cash anymore.
I have cash.
Who carries cash?
Me. I got it from my granny.
Where did you get the cash? I learned it from you.
It was very strange entering that building for the first time since March last year. I don't really know what I was expecting, but it was empty, pretty much. Proper skeleton crew. 2 or 3 facilities support staff around. One of my colleagues who I found sitting in the corner of a dark staff room because the lights are motion triggered. The library was dark and whole floors had nobody on them. It was weird and sad. And there was more crap in my locker than I remembered. But I grabbed the important things. My Sainsbury's delivery just arrived, and I am spending today working on Eddsworld. We are in production for 2 videos at the moment. The short one that is coming up very soon is like 60 or 70% finished, I think. I'm going to be making an updated cut of it today, and I'm going to be organising a couple of auditions and some stuff with the new merch. So that's my day, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm not stressed. It feels very good to not be stressed. I'm gonna have some grapefruit juice, and I'm gonna make myself a coffee, and I'm just gonna have a really nice, productive day. I'm also gonna catch you up on D&D because I realized I didn't answer you last time, and I apologize for that. I had big news, and I wanted to talk about it, and I forgot to talk about D&D. I was planning to talk about it in this video. I'm gonna catch you up on our shenanigans because there have been quite a few. What's up?
Instagram people, they keep saying I don't wear my mask. I wear a mask, goddammit. Every time I post an Instagram post of me standing outside, they go, "Oh, where's your mask?" I was like, I don't wear a mask when there's no one around me outside.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm more than 100 feet away from everybody right now. I'm gonna take my mask off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wear the mask like in Wells. That high street's really skinny, and like it forces people to be close. So I put my mask on.
I was wearing on Walthamstow High Street because, yeah, there's a lot of people there.
A lot of people, yeah. That's a nice shirt.
Thank you. It was from my mother-in-law for Christmas.
Lovely. In your previous video, Past Bing, you talked about Dungeons and Dragons, which at the time I had only just started doing for the first time. We were still finding our way, but we were having a lot of fun. And that's a hobby that has continued even through the pandemic. A lot has happened, and the short answer to your question about Matt ruining it all is yes, he has. A lot. But a good DM reacts to his players. I keep a fairly detailed logbook of everything that happens in a session so that next time I can remind everyone what happened. So I'm just going to read you a little bit of a highlight reel. In the first session, they kind of just spent a lot of time trying and failing to flirt with people in the bar and getting in each other's way and pissing off almost everyone they met. They head on down the road to the first kind of structured encounter that happens in the Lost Mines of Fandalvir, where Teo blew up some goblins, like actually popped them. This is something that Teo Lewis has done quite frequently, is just kind of burst people. In our second session, Big Boy, played by David, did some very upsetting and offensive things, including peeing on a horse. There were a lot of really easy trap rolls that they failed, and at one point they were basically all in a pit of spikes. They met the bandit Clark and convinced him that they would help him out, which they didn't. They never did. Actually, about 6 months later, they just let him be killed, like slaughtered mercilessly before their eyes, and didn't lift a finger. Just let him die. This person that they'd made friends with. So that's the kind of That's the kind of like caliber of player that we're dealing with. In an absolutely game-changing session, Matt's character, Gigantor Big and Tall, was introduced to the Townmaster, a fairly significant NPC who gives the players missions. I played that NPC like kind of racist against Matt's character, who is very small, and Matt's response was to murder him and then escape by crashing out of the window of the 2-story town hall. And then somehow collectively we all invented a holiday called Chicken Night that happens once a year in Phandalin and is an excuse to eat a lot of chicken and also beverages that are somehow made from chicken. So that session not only derailed the Phandalvir campaign fairly substantially, forcing me to rewrite various scenarios, it was also the start of us making this world our own rather than the kind of prescribed fantasy world of Dungeons and Dragons. In the following session, because they hadn't been to any of the places that they needed to go yet, I brought the Red Brand ruffians to them and made them have an encounter right away at the beginning of the game. They killed or captured all of them. There was a lot of violence, a lot of kind of unnecessary gore and detail, and they found a naked elf man and rescued them from the ruffians. In a subsequent session, they were joined by an NPC who didn't need a name until he needed a name, so I called him Droop, a goblin coward, a defector, who now serves as Gigantor Big and Tall's personal assistant. This was also the session where we lost our first player. Teo, Lewis's character, died honorably in battle, very painfully and violently. But Lewis wanted to roll a new character anyway, so that's fine. He started playing as a shape-shifting warlock with chaos magic, who had been the naked elf that we found. So we figured out a way. Back in Phandalin, another very significant NPC called Sildar was serving as interim townmaster, because that was just kind of how I decided to deal with what Matt did. But did Matt approve? No, of course he didn't. He didn't like that Sildar was now in charge, and he demanded a democratic election, a thing that really doesn't happen in D&D. Dungeons and Dragons does not take place in a democracy. I don't think the characters even really know what that means, but my players wanted it to happen. So we then spent 3 sessions organizing and then having a fair and democratic election for Townmaster that resulted in Matt being in charge of the town of Phandalin now. Also at this point, I decided that my players had killed enough NPCs and it was my turn to have fun, so I made Sildar burst into a pile of toxic, mysterious magic sludge that is important to the story. So yeah, I got one. Scratch one off for me. The DM, I killed an NPC. I'll kill any NPC. I'm crazy, don't test me. One of the many challenges of being the DM is constantly being prepared to come up with names for people and also unique voices that don't all just sound like a gruff version of you. I haven't been the best at that. So there are a lot of people in the world of Dungeons and Dragons that talk a bit like this and just sound like a Cockney version of me. There's also a character who I know if this was a podcast would be a fan favourite called Chauncey, who talks like this. Chauncey. Hello, I'm Chauncey. Pleasure to meet you. My name is Chauncey. What can I do for you? What can I get you? He deals in stolen magical artifacts, and as a result of a misfired spell from David, has been rendered permanently invisible, which makes him better at stealing. He can often be found invisible and completely nude, playing the piano in the local inn. Also, as a result of my extremely quick thinking, there is a character called Kevevin. And of course, I have pages and pages of incredibly meticulously planned out lore and story points and interesting games within games and mind-bending puzzles, innovative crafty storytelling that hints at a much bigger and all-encompassing story arc and like universe level conspiracy, body swapping and illusions and parallel worlds. And we've been playing for a year and I really haven't used any of it because my players would rather kill the nearest NPC and have fights with each other than actually engage in my really cool story. All of that is to say, past Bing, yes, I am still playing Dungeons & Dragons. It hasn't been as fun since we stopped being able to do it in person, but it's still exciting and rewarding, and I look forward to the next session. However, you might feel a little differently tomorrow.